Must be movie time. Welcome to Spectre Studios. Talk dozen movies.
Yes, everybody, once again, I know these videos haven't quite got the many hits, but I have quite a few friends that do enjoy them particularly. And a friend of mine just came back to work with me, and one of the things that we talk about a lot is horror, and that is going to be the subject of this top 12. My top 12 horror films. Now, before I get into this is going to be a little different probably for a lot of people's lists, simply because I'm not really that scared or intimidated from basically like slasher films or torture films. Those really don't frighten me all that much. They're just a disgust factor, and I don't really particularly seek them out often. Once in a while I'll watch them from The Hostel, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and stuff like that, but they don't really impact me the way the supernatural can. And that's where a lot of this list will probably hit into the supernatural and to the entertainment. My mother has been growing up on horror films since I was very, very little. So a lot of these, again, they don't frighten me to a particular degree, but they do entice my senses to really get into basically what I feel is a really good, entertaining story, and my senses a little bit of maybe foreboding that there's been some danger or element that you could be in trouble. So I really enjoy these horror films for what they are, and I'll kind of go over them as I go through the list. Okay, so let's get started with the list.
Number 12.
All right, thank you. All right, so we got our number 12, and this one is pretty much a homage to the great horror director of all time. So this is, of course, George E. Romero's very original Night of the Living Dead. So this is not the later versions. This was done in black and white back in 1968. In 2004, they did this in the Technicolor that they did. And like I said, George E. Romero starred in it. A lot of all the actors pretty much you're not really heard of. But I enjoyed this film. It's still pretty good. It's interesting the way they, where this film had gone on to. It kind of really started the whole zombie craze. And for that, I gotta give it props. It's just it's a classic. It's one of those that really still pretty good, and I think it holds up super, super well.
Number 11. Number 11.
So on to number 11. And number 11 is kind of a fun one for me. It's particularly because it has a little bit of homage to supposedly being around Maine, that's where I'm from. So this one is Lake Placid. So yeah, big oversized crocodile, kind of alligator crocodile, kind of running around chomping on people. The cool thing about this is Betty White really played a pretty entertaining role in this. I thought it was super entertaining with her attitude, kind of rooting for things. This one came out in 1999, so a little dated in that aspect there, but they've had some sequels onto that. So Bill Pullman, Bridget Fonda, Oliver Platt. It's a good film. It's very entertaining. It's a big monster CGI type of thing, so it may not have the full scare factor that you may be looking for frightening, but it's pretty cool. It's a big creature like that, chomping things, and being kind of like near my place of living. I kind of have a little soft spot for this one, so may not be on your list, but a soft spot for mine, and I enjoyed that pretty well.
Number 10. Number 10.
All right, so we're off to number 10. Now this one on number 10 is a pretty good horror film. It's an old one, a classic. This one's done by John Carpenter, and it has been redone, but we're talking about the original, and that is The Thing. Kurt Russell starred in this one, and this one was done, let's see here, find our date here, 1982. So basically into an old place. I kind of like this because it's an isolated research center in the frozen tundra. Everyone's trapped. You really can't go anywhere. So that's where a lot of this aspect is. The crew has to survive. They're trying to maintain their situation, but they don't know exactly what's going on. A little alien type of phenomenon, presence like that, that really kind of gets my senses kind of going, because you're still trying to figure out yourself what is entirely happening here. So really enjoyed that part of this film. It's pretty scary, pretty get you kind of figure out who's who can you trust, and what is going on. And that makes it a very, very good horror film for you to look back on and check out, because this one, the classic, is really good. John Carpenter did a super job with this, with what he had at the time back in 1982.
Number 9. Number 9.
Okay, number 9. This one's a little bit to really the next 9 and 8 that I'm going to be going into are homages to remakes to Japanese ones. Although you can insert the Japanese films into these, and that's pretty much my first little hint to these. But I will start first with The Ring. This one really, this was another one of the ones that really start with the freakish nature of the Japanese horror and the supernatural, and really the imagery hitting in that. And the little girl in this pretty much got a lot of people's senses sort of being pretty frightened, and what happens in the well and stuff like that. So this one's really good. Ringu is the Japanese version of this. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's got, like I said, good senses, and based off the Japanese film, which has a little bit more of a tragic aspect to it. So that's really good. And yep, number 8 is really one of my favorites. Is The Grudge. I think it's Jinwa or something, Jinyu or something like that. I can't really quite remember off the top of my head. But those films are really good. I'm a big fan, kind of from her Buffy days. So Sarah Michelle Gellar stars in this one. It has the high sense of little children with creepy supernatural ability. Those are awesome. Those really get some freakish stuff. And the crawling, really starting off from this one that you see in a lot of films now, heading out in the horror films. This is the one that really kind of helped bring it home to that. And those two films, The Ring and The Grudge, really bring some of that great Japanese horror to American screens, with of course the budget that really makes it a big blockbuster deal. So really enjoyed this one quite a bit.
Number 7. Number 7.
This next one is really been really popular. It's already I know it's gotten 5 movies in terms of its run. I enjoyed it because it was one of those, again, that your senses are questioning, what can you do? How can you stop? And that's the irresistible force of death itself. When death is not really a specter or an imagery that you can firsthand deal. In a horror, it is you've cheated death, and now it has come back to pay retribution on you, and that is indeed Final Destination. You can't outrun your death, and that's where these films really kind of go off of, and I think that's really cool, with just freakish little accents and stuff like that. So you can see it kind of building up, and then all of a sudden there was a lot of little surprises and stuff like that hit, and you're like, wow. So instant shock value to that aspect there. You just don't know what's going to happen, because the enemy is the unseen hand of death, and that makes it for very terrifying and entertaining. If you happen to be able to cheat death, could this theoretically happen to you and a group of friends? So really enjoyed this film. You should definitely check it out. There's 5 of them in the series that I know so far, and the original one definitely holds up and is awesome.
Number 6. Number 6.
This one I enjoy because it comes out basically from a video game that also was very terrifying if you happen to ever play it. And nope, it's not Resident Evil. That game was awesome. Movie was not good for the first. Sequel's much better, but they're not really horror films. They're more action thrillers, so really kind of fell out of place. So I want something horror. And where else, better place to go than that? It's of course Silent Hill. This one really plays with the music, the horn, that air raid horn kind of going on, creeps you out. The terrifying transformation of Silent Hill to its horrifying state, and the twisted imagery of this stuff is just fantastic. This one is great. There is a sequel that is out. Those are both very good. Sean Bean starred in this one. Always gotta like a lot of the work he does. This one will this one will really get you going. The imagery is just great. It really starts playing with your senses, and in a great tragic little ghost horror story. So it works. I love it. You definitely need to check this out, and I like it a lot because it has homage to my video game background. So enjoy that quite a bit.
Number 5. Number 5.
All right, we're at number 5, and this one plays a little bit to my roots of comics, and it has transformed itself into TV. It is close to The Walking Dead that was done by Robert Kirkman, and it has a very similar story, but this one is 28 days later. Yeah, the star wakes up in a hospital and basically finds that London has been overrun with zombies, and these zombies are quick and fast, and they come at you pretty hard, and you've got to watch how you take care of them, because any blood will cause you to have that infection, and the psychology to that is very similar to The Walking Dead roots, so enjoyed that quite a bit. It really adds to some intensity because it's not the shambling zombies. These ones are coming at you, and it quickens your heart because you know that the undead feel no pain, and they're coming at you pretty hard. This one is very good. It's very enjoyable. This one came out, let's see, it's still holding up, about 2003, so over a decade old, but again, it is good. It's got that virus horror thing with the zombies, but this kind of plays more to the original roots where a lot of the movies have gone on today, but 28 days later still holds up. There is a sequel, 28 weeks later, but this is the better of the two, and this one is awesome.
Number 4.
Alright, number 4 is definitely some old school element to this, and I'm just going to kind of show the collection box of what I have in my hand, but you'll see the cover screen to that. And this one, well, let's get back into a little bit. See how I'm happening here? Yeah. Alright, so dating back to, let's see here, still trying to guess what I'm looking at. And I cannot find the date, but I quite remember this is definitely 15 to 20 years old, but nothing's more scary than dinosaurs. This was a real good time when the CGI really picked up its pace. It really made like the T-Rex bearing down on you, the sound, when you saw this in theaters, this was intense. And the Raptors were really started to play and showing how scary they could be, and their pack mentality, their size, their speed, they're great. It kind of started as a fun movie, kind of seemed kind of cool, futuristic sci-fi, pretty good like this, but there's a real good horror element to this, because when things go bad, it goes wrong. It comes down hard on this group of survivors of this. This has got a good, pretty good all-star cast in this as well, you know, done by Steven Spielberg, but with Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, Richard Attenborough. I remember Samuel Jackson making an appearance in this, so this is some good stuff. It's a classic. You gotta check it out. The original is awesome.
Number 3. Number 3.
Alright, at number 3, if you remember one of them making it my top sci-fi list, well, we're going to go to basically the original. This is the collector's box that I have here because I just love the series. But the original horror is, of course, the first one, which is Alien, and that going off the old catchphrase, in space no one can hear you scream. And that really had the horror presence because you didn't know what you were dealing with the first time James Cameron really brought this baby out at you, and you were like, wow, what is going on? And the first thing we were introduced to this guy, it was a creature that its capacity of offensiveness and defense was, you know, wow, this was the complete hunter that you could not really deal with. So that made this thing awesome. It made it really scary in a very dark place, trying to survive. Again, where the crew is isolated, they can't go anywhere. They have to deal with this creature that's being on their ship, and they have to band together to do it as it slowly comes after them one by one. This makes for a very frightening, very scary thing to do, and I love this movie. I can watch it many times, which I have, and if you haven't seen it, you need to check this out because the first two Aliens, Alien and Aliens, are the best of the four, and they really get to the element of dark horror, especially in the future of the sci-fi world.
2.
All right, and down to number 2. Number 2 is now, which is basically homage to my first number 12 pick by George Romero. This is going to be a remake of the one that he did, which is Dawn of the Dead. Now, I really, really enjoyed this one because it really, to me, when zombies had kind of almost faded away back a little bit earlier, this one kind of reestablished itself. It came right back to the forefront. It made zombies quicker now. They weren't doing the old George Romero's going slowly. They were fast. They were deadly. So the survivors in this are really holed up in a mall. They have some time, but it gets dangerous for them. They really have to, they have to move on. Supplies get limited, and they try to make it. And this really kind of kick-started a lot of remakes of George Romero's films. I know he did, there were 3 more remakes of this, and then he went on to the Diary of the Dead and stuff like that. So those are all great. This one was awesome because the cast is good. To me, it's the original of the remakes, and it really brought to life the zombies once again, and they're awesome. They're coming down at you, coming fast, and I think that was well made. And again, it just brings back zombies, and I love the zombies, and I think that really helps reset where the zombies were. If you look at some of the video games I talk about, the roots like Dawn of the Dead, for Left 4 Dead, I feel like this kind of played off of really building into things like that, where now the zombies are a different type of zombie. They're fast zombies, and that's what this film kind of did, bring up the speed to them, making it very horrifying that you don't have the time to sit there and pick them off or run away like that, which is in a lot of other old zombie type of mediums. This one, you better move and move fast, and you gotta aim for the head, because that's how bad your situation is and why the epidemic goes worldwide.
Number 1.
All right, I'm finally down to my last number 1, and this is very, very old school. We'll look back 1982 for me, but it's the classics of classics. It really is what changed our culture world, because we're always still talking about it in Ghost Hunters on TV shows, with all the possessions and all that stuff like that. And you have to realize with, let's see if I can check this actress, because it has been such really such story element and mystery and things, because this actress didn't go very far after doing these, and that's where it gets really weird. But that's of course the original Poltergeist. You have to have seen this. This has been around forever. If you haven't, you are not a horror fan. You should not even be looking at this list if you have not seen this film, because there's just no denying how epic Poltergeist has been and what it has done in putting the terror, because this is what it's all about. And it still holds up for when it came out. It is, from 1982, 20 some odd years later, and it is great. It will put the fear in you. It's spooky. It's that type of terror. You don't have that old boob tube that she's got, but it's really interesting. You'll still have some of that. You have to kind of go back to that aspect when TVs kind of really did that, but it's still good, still great, and I totally enjoy it. So that's my top 12 of horror. Comment below if I miss one that you think should have been in there. Remember, my taste is a little varied to the supernatural, so that's where I kind of went. And this is a shout out to all the friends that definitely keep clamoring for me to do these top 12s. I hope you're satisfied with that. Get these view counts of these top 12s up. If you want me to do more, those that are watching this, get your friends to check it out. I know this is a game channel, but this is movies, and this can also inspire them to go check out movies they haven't seen. My friends tell me all the time, my lore and deep history for some of these movies dates back to movies they have not seen, because they're from the young generation of the young 20s. So this is a good way to share this with them and see if they agree or have never heard of them, and we'll give you a chance to have a weekend with a bunch of people over, sharing some popcorn and some beer, and checking out some of these top 12s that are on Spectre Studios. Thanks again. So again, subscribe and share. This is Spectre Senence once again, and thank you.